thank you very much for that hands up. Appreciate that. And hi, Sean21. Yep, good to see you. Thanks very much. It's nice to be here. I think my aim is simple. I just want to help people with their businesses. If you've got a business that's struggling right now, and I know a lot of people are, thanks to the coronavirus, I am here to give you a message. Part of that message is that I actually lived in Hong Kong in 2003 when Hong Kong was hit by the SARS virus. And what I learned through that time, I had a business back then called Fluid, and we actually managed to not only survive that pandemic, and it was probably one of the first pandemics that many people might have already heard of, we managed to actually thrive. And so part of it is being careful not to listen to the scary news every day. And I know that we have to stay in contact with what's going on in the world, but when we hear, hundreds of people dying in different cities and different places, it's scary, but I don't know if it really helps us. Now, if it helps us stay indoors, I'm all for it. But that being said, I think there's also an element of it overstimulates the fear. And I actually think that fear is an asset unless it's overstimulated. And so my idea is to try and, for us all together, to focus on something else. If we can't help directly help people that are being affected by this virus, perhaps we can come up with some innovation or some ideas and some businesses to not only distract us from all this panic, but also allow us to perhaps come up with the next big thing that's going to help, perhaps, for example, detect this sort of problem in the future, or help the NHS with new innovations and new technologies that could ultimately save lives. So there's loads of ways to help. There's loads of ways to get involved. For me, I am a business person. I have started 17 companies. I've invested in over 60 businesses, and I basically want to use that skill, that experience and that knowledge to help anybody out there that might be struggling. And so that's why I'm here. I'm online now trying to do that. So tag, I'm just going to read your comment. Do not live in fear, enjoy life. I completely agree. I totally think that's I have a whole theory that fear is actually a skill. It's kind of an asset. We were given fear as a way of surviving. So I don't think fear is necessarily a bad thing. I think panic is a bad thing. Panic is something we have to watch out for. That's not necessarily a very productive reaction. So yeah, I think it's important to separate the two. But if there's anybody here online now that has a business problem or needs some support with their business, I want to hear that. I want to see if I can help you in any way. That's the reason I've come online. I'm just looking now to see who is on. Here online now that has a business problem or needs some. So this is actually one of my first live streams, so I'm still also learning how the system works. So please forgive me while I just play around with the device and figure out how it all works. Thanks, Tag. I appreciate you saying that. I'm not a legend, but I do know a lot about business, so I can help people. But I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot. So let me just see what is going on. Now, maybe I might have overloaded my system. Okay, so let's see if I can answer any questions. Seems like things are livening up a little bit. So I aspire to be in business but lack knowledge in what field I should go into. Any advice? Hey Will, thanks very much for that question. Well, I think it all depends. Perhaps you have to kind of look at internally what excites you, what area of life you really enjoy. I guess right now with coronavirus it might might limit you, but one of the things I often say to people is, if you're thinking of starting a business, think about it in the context of what purpose or what problem you can solve, as opposed to what business you can do. So I don't know if you've got anything that really anything in your life that's really happened or has meaning to you. Perhaps you can think about solving that problem or being involved in the solution of whatever problem that has affected you in life. So I guess it depends on you and what you're interested in. I've also suggested to people that if you're not sure what to do, you can go on portals like Angel List, and you can see what startups or what companies out there and what they're doing, and see if anything appeals to you. If there's any particular company that you think is doing something amazing that could be useful to you, or you would find interesting to work there, then you can just ping them and see if they're interested in letting you be a part of what they're doing. So that's one way to go. It's a good question. It's a hard thing to figure out if you want to be an entrepreneur but you don't actually know what to do. I do understand that's not an easy thing to do. I've just done a video on YouTube, I've just put it up, which is basically the 8 steps to starting a business at home. And within that, I do talk about the fact that it's not idea that matters at the beginning. It is this whole concept of what problem are you going to solve. Hey Queenie, you dropped this. Do you want it back? Oh, I get it. Oh, that's a trophy. That's very kind of you. Appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Appreciate that. Okay. Now I'm just inviting a few people to come and join. Okay. This can go on further. Hey, curious if you've got any recommendations for getting clients as a marketing agency. Okay, so I owned a marketing agency called Fluid. It was based in Hong Kong, and that agency survived. I was running it during SARS virus in Hong Kong in 2003. And it's very similar to what's happening now in the UK and around the world. It just happened mainly in Hong Kong, but there's a lot of similarities between that time, the kind of SARS virus time, and now. And one of the things that we did as a company to survive was we went to clients that we knew could do well for this tough time. For example, supermarkets that weren't online and should be, because no one wants to walk into the supermarkets and buy stuff at this time. So even at the end of my street here, there's 2 or 3 local supermarkets that aren't online. So we helped them get online, and we helped them figure out a home delivery system so they could survive. We want these small businesses to survive. We want these entrepreneurs' businesses to survive. So we would go out and help them by building digital products for them. And that's what Fluid did during SARS in 2003. That's what my agency did back in those days. And by helping people at that time, we built up our reputation as well as being good at doing online stuff. So I don't know if that bit of advice is useful to you when talking about how to market your new business, but I always think about it in the context of like doing good can bring karma, and ultimately can bring business because you're doing good. So guys, I'm just checking stuff online because I've got a few messages coming through via my website, so I'm just checking that I'm not missing anything. Okay, I think we're there. Okay, right, I think we're now fully live on all channels, so let me keep answering some of these questions. So hey, thanks Lala, I appreciate that. I'm trying my best to be useful. I think it's a very stressful time for a lot of people I can relate a lot to entrepreneurs. I am an entrepreneur. I've started 17 companies. I have worked through a pandemic before. I lived in Hong Kong 2003 when we had a serious virus called SARS hit that city, and I was working there then. I had a company called Fluid. We fought through it, so I have some experience. Part of what I want to do is come online and say to people, we're going to get through this. It's going to come to an end. It's not going to be like this for the rest of our life. But I think a lot of people, especially in business, are just in panic mode right now, survival mode. So part of what I want to do is come online and offer some help, some guidance, some support to anyone that might be struggling right now. And make sure that I'm using my skills, which is business and so on, to help anyone out there that might be struggling. So, hi Billy. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. That's very, very kind of you to say that, Billy. Thank you. I want to ask your opinion on construction. I'm sorry, I don't really understand that question. Okay, Queenie, yeah, thanks for coming on. Nice to see you. Thanks very much. Take care. Hi, Serena. I don't really understand that question. Okay, Lola. I don't know what content for the construction business actually means. What you actually mean by that? I mean, I know a lot about content generally, but I'm not sure what you mean by that. So if you clarify, I try to answer the question. I've started a property tech business. Okay. What is the future of the architectural industry? That's an interesting one. I guess, well, I have this whole theory that machines are going to be doing 90% of what we do today. So the architectural industry will also change. I mean, the thing about the architectural industry, it depends on what part of it. I still think there's going to be a human creativity piece that's always going to be part of it. Kind of the handmade idea as opposed to the mass production system. So I still think there's a creative piece there, but I think as far as actually drawing up everything is concerned, it's all done by computers now anyway. There's going to be a kind of a movement, I think, in 3D printing of buildings. There will be a lot of mass construction using mass printers that can print houses and print offices and so on. So that's my quick view on that question. Okay, hi Billy. Out of 1 to 10, how bad is coronavirus? Well, I mean, it's pretty bad. I think there's an element that I worry that we're making it worse. I think this 24-hour news coverage does not help. The death toll numbers coming in hourly from all the different countries is just stressful. If we're told to stay home and we stay home, not sure how that information helps other than just stress people out more. So I personally try to cut back on the news I'm consuming. It's not a soap opera and I don't want the stress, and what I'm doing instead is trying to focus on how I can help people like in the real world, because hearing news and being scared about it doesn't really help. It's more about, for me, it's more about what can we do to help as opposed to like just being scared all the time. But I think it's serious. But again, I have seen this virus before. I've lived through all of this before. In 2003, I was living in Hong Kong. We had the SARS virus. It was one of the first pandemics I ever experienced. And it was very similar to what we're in now. No one wanted to go out. No one wanted to go shopping in supermarkets, or and no one wanted to be anywhere near anyone else. So, and business completely changed. So I've been through it. It's just one of those things. I think there isn't that when you're experiencing it for the first time, it is scary, but I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often. I mean, as a species, we're actually very vulnerable. Okay, do you think more recently college grads will struggle to get jobs for the years to come? Yeah, I do think that's going to be a problem. I mean, my thing is, if you're a college grad, I would strongly recommend you think about starting something for yourself. I would think about starting a business from home. There are a lot of things that you can do, and I'm not sure personally I would rely on getting a job right now. There's a serious economic fallout coming from what's happening right now, and I'm not sure if you're a fresh grad if you can rely on someone giving you a job. My thing is that you shouldn't rely on someone giving you a job anyway. I think you should create your own business, your own life, control your own destiny. But not everyone sees it that way. Some people want to work for someone else. I don't know why, but they do. Hi Billy, how do you know if you have it? The entrepreneurial ability, you mean? I think that entrepreneurs can be taught. You're not born an entrepreneur. I mean, I taught myself to be an entrepreneur. I just don't subscribe to the fact that, and there's many different types of entrepreneurs as well. So there's not just one type, there's many different ways to do it. And I think it all depends on, for me, it's all about finding something that's purposeful to you. What problem do you want to solve? And then, if you can build a business that does it, you can hire the different types of people you need. If it's a salesperson you need, or a marketing person, or a tech person. If you don't have the skills to do certain things, you can hire or bring people in as co-founders to do those things. So I don't think you need to be born an entrepreneur. I don't subscribe to that. Is it simple living when you work for someone else, less pressure? I don't agree. I mean, people say less pressure working for someone else. I fear more the idea of someone else being in control of what happens to my life. If I have my own business, if I'm self-employed, I decide everything. Whereas for me, if someone else has hired me, then they decide what I have to do and when I have to do it. And I don't like that. I think that's stupid. Would you say a degree is absolutely vital in today's time? I don't think a degree is needed at all. I would argue it's a waste of time and money. I personally left school at 15 and started a business. I really don't like the idea of people getting into debt to learn what I consider to be old stuff most of the time. I would rather that people, I've got a niece, she's got £50,000 worth of debt from going to university. She's super bright, super smart person and doesn't need to be in debt like that. And of course, because she's in debt like that, she needs a job to pay off the debt. Whereas what I did is I left school at 15, I had no debt, and I started a business. And that business did well and I made money. So as other people were building up debt and learning, I was making money and learning. And to me, that's a much smarter way to do it. I'm thinking to open up a business to help the NHS. I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. I think any business right now that can support the NHS or any other part of the UK that's trying to fight coronavirus, or globally for that matter, you should definitely do it. And if I can do anything to help you with that, you please let me know. I think that will be if you've got an idea that can help the NHS, I will definitely help you with that. You DM me after this. You can go to my website, simonsquibb.com. You can send me a message. If you're serious about that idea, I will definitely help you. Sure, you bet, no problem. Say yet. You guys always need a bit of entertainment. Okay, so I'm just trying to see if anyone is asking me a question. Hi Clinton, what was your worst business startup? Oh, I've had so many. I've had so many failures. You can actually go on my YouTube channel and see I've done quite a few videos on my failures, but I did an equity crowdfunding business, basically while I was trying to help startups raise money online, and got into a little bit of trouble because basically the financial institutions like the SFC thought we were selling shares in companies, so trading stocks, which we weren't. We were just taking good ideas and matching them up with investors so they could get the money they needed to scale or build their business out. But that was quite a big failure. It's called Investable. It's one of my big failures. I did a comic book business called Devashard, which is an amazing product, and we actually got a deal to make it into a movie. But it didn't get made into a movie in the end, and so yeah. But yeah. So yeah, I'm looking for ways that I could help any entrepreneurs out there or anybody who's thinking of starting a business. How can I help you? If I want to create something traditional, what would you recommend? Oh, hi Mel, thanks very much. So I'm going to read your question out for the people that are listening. I need to implement a review appraisal for my company but don't know what to create. What would you recommend? Okay. For me, appraisals are a funny word. I always focus on the partnership with the people that I work with. And so for me, it's not just someone works for me and I'm going to appraise them. For me, it's much more about what can I do to help that person that works with me, not for me, and what can I do to make their life better. And I think if you do that, then often you end up building out something that is useful, or building out something that basically ultimately incentivize that person to really care about what you're doing. If you just ask them to do stuff for you, it's very selfish, and then you appraise them on that. They might not be performing, not because they're not capable, but because they don't feel like what they're doing is appreciated. And so to me, appraisal is about probably reviewing yourself more than anything else, and seeing what you can do to help people more that work for you. I would like to change the terminology to people working with you, and I like to really understand the people that are working with me to know what they actually need to have a happy, successful life. So, okay, Luke, good question. How do you feel about companies profiting from the outbreak? Okay, Luke, I do not like companies profiting from the coronavirus outbreak in any way. It's a bit tricky, but for example, recently someone did mention to me that they're looking to make a lot of masks. The US government wants to order masks. I think you've got to be very careful. There is an element of me there that thinks, well, you've got to produce product to help. It's a government request. But I do think you've got to be a little bit careful about making anything off this. That being said, if there's anything you can do to help, and if that means you make something and you sell it and there's a profit involved, I would probably strongly recommend you take that profit and give it back to the NHS or give it back to the people that need it. I don't think this moment is a moment to make money. I think this moment is a moment to be good and be kind and help people. And so to me, I wouldn't do any businesses that directly you get direct benefit from because of coronavirus. Having said that, there are a lot of businesses out there, for example, that need help. And I think, if you can help them and you can earn a salary or an income from that, then I think that's absolutely fair and absolutely fine. That's my view on it. Okay. So I'm being asked here by Anchor, what do you think about the remote work format? Well, I think remote work is a bit tricky. I think it can work for a short period of time, but you do need a connection with people. And so I've personally never liked remote working as a sole solution. I think temporarily it can work. I think the thing that gets lost is the culture, the teamwork. It's a bit like footballers. You can't play football. You can train on your own, that's fine, but I think, to play a match together, you do need to hang out together. So remote working is a bit tricky. Having said that, I think if you built a very strong core purpose in your business and strong core moral code, you can get away with less face-to-face, side-by-side interaction with your team. So I think a lot of people are going to suffer right now if they've got remote working and their business isn't very purposeful. If their business doesn't have a very strong meaning, then people might drop off. But if you've got a strong core purpose, I think it will make a huge difference. Luke just said, I love remote working. I think it depends on the person a lot. I completely agree with you, Luke, actually. I'm going to click like on that. I completely agree with you on that. I think it does depend a lot on your personality type. And so some people like to work remotely. I think what I do like is I like freedom. I like the idea that you can do whatever you need to do. You're trusted to do what you need to do, and you're not necessarily forced to clock in at 9 and leave at 5. I think that's such a waste of time. So I love freedom. I just worry a little bit with remote work as a long-term solution that you lose something culturally. And the business environment, I like to work with people. I like to work for people. And sometimes if there's no day-to-day interaction, you can lose that. Hi, Brand. Would I say work hard? That's a good question. Okay, so there's a saying, the harder you work, the luckier you get. I absolutely do not agree with this. That is not how it really works, in my view. In fact, I can say the less hard I worked in the past, the more luckier I got. So I don't think working hard on its own. It's the cheesy lines like work smart, not hard. I think working hard, well, first of all, if you're loving what you do, there's no such thing as hard work. You only say it's hard work if you're doing something you don't really like. So I think for me, I don't think I've ever really felt like I'm working hard unless I'm involved in something I'm not enjoying. So generally I tend, like now, it's Friday night, it's 9 p.m, I'm chatting to you guys online about business and life, and I'm enjoying it. I don't feel like I'm working hard. I want to add value, I want to reach more people, so if anyone can share what I'm doing and make sure more people hear about it, I'm going to be forever grateful. But I'm not, I'm not making any money from giving this advice. I'm not being paid to sit here on a Friday night and give advice, and I don't feel like it's hard work. I enjoy helping, giving back, especially at this time when there's so many entrepreneurs out there struggling. I want to help those people struggle less. Equally, if anyone out there is at a crossroads and looking for something to do. I want to help you find that thing that you're meant to do. I know I'm live on TikTok now. I can see a lot of people are asking about, they're leaving, they've got their education's come to an end and they're meant to be getting a job, and now the world's in turmoil. What should they do? So for me, it's an opportunity for those young people to start a business of their own, which is what they should do anyway, even if this nightmare hadn't come along. So I feel like my purpose or my goal would be to help people start their own business. So I really want to do whatever I can to encourage that and support that. Okay, so Kennedy, you're asking me, would you say starting a business as young as 18 is a good idea or a mistake? I absolutely think there's no such thing as too young to start a business. I personally left school at 15 and started a company and have never looked back. I loved every single minute of my working life and totally recommend it to everybody. Now, I get into a lot of trouble in the past when I tell people to forget education, as in university in particular. I don't like people going to university and getting into debt, and then that debt holding people back. I would rather you invested that money that you would invest in university in starting something for yourself. You can make money and learn at the same time. I think university is spend money, earn nothing, and learn a little bit. And I think real life is far more interesting. So, Luke, people use hard work for applause so much these days. You're making a lot of sense to me today, Luke. I totally agree. People use the term hard work to prove something. I have never done a hard day's work in my life. I always do what I love, and therefore it never feels like hard work. So, yeah. Hi, Cook. Your money is all typed up in invoices. Money due, you mean? I mean, managing cash flow is definitely something to watch out on right now, for sure. Most businesses die because they don't manage cash flow, so that's something you've got to watch out on. Okay, well, that sounds crazy to me. Hi, Anchor. How you doing? I think the main thing now is that professional teams are not afraid to give a chance to newcomers, even if they do something and don't benefit from it. Yeah, I agree. There is an opportunity to support the next generation. I mean, this online remote working opportunity, the benefit to it is I think you can tap into some real talent out there at the moment. And so I went through SARS in 2003 in Hong Kong, which was one of the world's first pandemics. I had a business called Fluid, which I ran during that time. And at the beginning of the pandemic, it definitely shrank. The business got into trouble. But then we figured out a new way of doing the business, and we scaled really, really quickly. And then in 2016, that company that almost died during the SARS virus got sold for a lot of money to PwC. So I just kind of want to let people know that there is a way out of this, that this is this present coronavirus nightmare that we're... Bella, come here. Come and say that. Present virus problem that we're facing is not going to last forever. And for a lot of you folks out there, I want you to hear that. This is not going to last forever. So you should take this time to plan ahead. You should take this time to think about what it is you really want to do when this is all over. And for me, it's all about building your own business. That's just what I'm passionate about. Okay, Brand, how can you tell when your time is being well invested in work? Time management is an interesting one. I would admit that I'm not very good with time management. I tend to just get so into what I'm doing and enjoy what I'm doing that I just lose time. So, I mean, I'm just looking at the clock now and realising that I've been online, over half an hour. If you'd asked me, I would have said 5 minutes. I really have no idea when it comes to time. But I do like the idea that you try to set there's some rules, like the things you don't necessarily want to do in a day, you try to do them first to get them out of the way. I think that's true. Equally, I think that there are things out there. So when I'm telling people to hire people to grow their business, because some people get scared to grow their business and hire, I always tell people that there are people out there that can do things better than you. You might as well let them do it. And so a lot of people waste their time trying to learn what they're not good at. So for me, for example, I've never enjoyed and never been good with accounts. I don't like the financial management side. So I've always hired really good accountants and really good numbers people. So people have always told me you should go on an accounts course and that. I basically know how it works. I've started 17 companies and done pretty well. I know how it basically works, but I don't need to know accounts in and out. And so a lot of people say to me, I'm not very strong in this area, like I should go and learn it. So they might say, I'm not very good at marketing, I should go and learn marketing. And I'm always like, well, do you enjoy marketing? If you do, go and learn it. If you don't enjoy it, then hire someone who's really good at it, who does enjoy learning about it, or has enjoyed learning about it, or has learned about it. So that's kind of my thing. Hi, smile. I like that. Smile when awake. Okay. I like that tag name. Will you monetize the Good Luck Club in the future? I don't think so. I think right now my podcast channel is there to just give back. So I'm enjoying interviewing these amazing people, these amazing entrepreneurs, and then they share their story, they share their advice. And for me, I have no plans to make money out of any of this stuff. This is all about trying to help people right now. And so yeah, it's a good question though. I mean, monetization of a business is probably always a smart thing in the end, because you need it to be able to survive. So it always needs money, but I'm very privileged to be in a position right now where I don't need to worry about right now instantly the money element of each of the things that I'm doing. So the content I'm putting out on YouTube at the moment, I'm just putting it out there to try and help people that are struggling with the coronavirus. I'm just trying to share my own experience with the virus that I lived through in 2003 and say, we're going to get through this, and here's some things that you can do to get yourself through this, and none of it makes any money for me, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But I do think there will come a point in anyone's business, including mine, where it's good to make money. I have people working for me on these businesses, so I have outgoing, I have cost to produce the content, but I don't want to make money out of anyone right now. I just want to help. Hi, Matthew. Yes, I'm on lockdown, so that's why Friday night I'm at home doing a broadcast to you kind people, trying to give some business advice and answer some questions. And so, yeah, I'm definitely on lockdown. And to be honest, it's not too bad. There's worse things in life than being stuck at home. Huh? Quite like it. The key is, for me, I just want to make sure that I'm productive and useful to people. How can I be of use is my main focus right now. I'm an entrepreneur, and I want to make sure that anyone out there that's suffering can have help that they need. Thank you, Matthew. I really appreciate that. I'm trying my best to just give back, help anybody out there that's struggling as an entrepreneur right now, and also encourage people to start their own businesses and help them do that in any way I can. So that's what I'm working on. That's why I'm online now, just trying to figure out if there's anyone out there that needs some help. So, yep. Hi, Kelly. I don't know, I think the lockdown thing, I can only draw on my experience from Hong Kong. We were basically 4 months living with SARS. There was never any lockdown because people in Hong Kong were quite self-disciplined, so we all kept our distance, wore masks, and were vigilant. But there was no business going on for 3 or 4 months in Hong Kong. Hi Danny, need some advice on financial side. I want to manufacture something in the UK. Okay, well what are you looking to manufacture, and what advice do you need? Thanks Matthew, really appreciate that. Oh yeah, my day's going fine, yeah, good. I mean, it's basically nearly 9 p.m. in London, so just coming to the end of the day. I've been up since 5 a.m, so it's been a long day, but the sun's been out, so that's been fantastic. Hey Luke, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that this is giving you time to focus on your business. I think it's actually a wonderful time to give yourself some time on your business and plan things. I mean, so often in business we're all running around chasing our tails. So I do think there is an opportunity to plan out a little bit, what you actually want to be doing. We are going to come out the other side of coronavirus. It is going to end. Life might be different, and we might be mentally scarred for a long time to come, but we will get through this. And I think now is the time to be thinking and planning out what you actually want from your life. And so, for me, any business I've started, and I've started 17 businesses to date, I always generally didn't have much time to plan them. I just had the idea and started them. But I always, in a way, regret that. I like the idea of having time to really map out what the business is trying to do. Once you're up and running, it's a lot harder. But yeah. Thanks very much. I'm glad you like my advice. That's nice of you to say. Thanks. Hi, Mr. Cookie. I do not personally need anything. I'm not after anything, but thank you for asking. No, I'm just sharing my knowledge. That's it. I've got knowledge in business. I know how business works, and all I'm doing is just trying to answer questions and help people at this time. My whole purpose in life is to help people find their purpose in life. And so in business, I think you can really deliver some amazing value if you build the right type of businesses and the right type of companies. And that's what I want to do, and that's what I basically want to do, help other people do. So I'm just checking on my other channels. I haven't got questions that I'm missing. Looks like everything is okay. But yeah, well look guys, okay, you have some personal money to invest and what to do with it. That's the question, is it? But my personal opinion is right now, invest in yourself. Don't invest in anything external. It's probably a little bit risky, but if you invest that money you're saying you've got in yourself, invest in something that you can manage and you can learn from, I think that's a really good idea. That's why I always say to people, I always say don't go to university, invest in building a business instead, because I've got a family member who's just come out of university with £50,000 worth of debt. My thing is, you could have easily put that money into building a business, and that time, more importantly, the time into building a business. You spend 4 years working on a business, I'm pretty much guaranteed you're going to make £50,000, not be in £50,000 worth of debt if you do it right. So I always say invest in yourself, don't invest in other things. When I was younger, I did invest in the stock market, a big mistake. I mean, I know you can make money from it, and people do, but for me, I think it's kind of like gambling. You're just putting your money with someone else and hoping that they're going to make you rich. I think you should focus on yourself and what you want and enjoy your day to day. What's my favourite thing I've done so far? Well, I've done lots of different things, so it's very hard to say. I mean, I've always enjoyed building relationships with my team. So, people I worked with 20 years ago are still friends today. And I'm really proud of that. I really like that long-term relationship build that you can get from working together. I think you work together, it's like living with someone, or you really get to know them. And so I've always enjoyed building that team piece. I've also enjoyed building a brand. I love building things that become respected or people appreciate or get value from. Okay guys, so it's coming up to 9 PM, so I said I'd basically jump on for an hour. Some really good questions. I'm pretty happy with my first live 8 PM broadcast. I'll be back on tomorrow night, so if you guys have any questions or you want any advice, then maybe jump back on tomorrow night and say hi. And please feel free to share this video or share this post with other people and let them know that I will be online every night at 8 PM. Giving advice, helping people with their businesses and chatting. So this is my first of hopefully many broadcasts, but if you guys need anything, please feel free to post a comment or visit my website simonsquibb.com and drop me a note in the message there. I'll get back to you and try and help in any way that I can. and I wish you guys a lovely evening. Thank you so much for joining my broadcast. And any final questions before I go? Just see if I've got any final questions. I'm actually broadcasting on a few channels, so I have to click over to the different channels to see if there's any questions. Oh, Matthew, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. I want to be useful, so that's great. Oh, hi from Albania. How you doing? Welcome. I have never been to Albania. Hopefully one day, when this nightmare coronavirus is over, I'll be able to come and visit. I love to go and travel places, and that will be a lot of fun. All right, guys. Thank you, Luke. Thank you very much for your questions tonight, in particular. You had some good ones. Appreciate you joining and appreciate you supporting. So I'll give you a like. Thanks very much, mate. And I'll see you guys all very soon. Have a nice evening. Take care.